I am NetMoverSitan. Act 1 involved the beginnings of the Lobotomy Corporation. Act 2 involved the events of the Lobotomy Corporation from day 1 to 45. Act 3 shall cover the final days. Keter, the superconscious, the topmost of the sephirots of the Tree of Life in Kabbalah. Its meaning is crown. It can also be interpreted as both the topmost of the sephirots and the regional crown. Keter is so sublime, it is called in the Zohar the most hidden of all hidden things, and is completely incomprehensible to man. It is also described as absolute compassion. Not sure about that. As for the architecture department, employees, abnormalities, separars, and the facility. The first will of everything. Orders that are meant to guide us to the righteous place. The stars from here, and echoes to the entire facility. Infinite possibilities will bloom by the will of the one who faces, and the one who listens. Be prepared for the age of humans. Yeah, don't really know what to make of that myself. Right. On day 46, the manager entered the architecture department, which looked like a well-kept office. A mature-looking man with black hair and a beard, wearing a grey pinstripe suit, brown shirt, and a black tie, using a black cane, said that it had been a long time since his loved ones left with their broken bodies and hearts. They finally met after taking a long detour. He sent a letter to the manager, an old, strange letter that had the same name of sender and recipient, the one that told him that A would meet him soon. He then asked why he is hesitating, and to come and put his mind at ease. He hoped that the environment satisfied him. He tried his best to recreate their office, at least one place to feel comfortable, although he speculated that he felt that it was a bit more serene than he might remember. Well, there are many reasons for this, and not just because of the barely organized chaos imposed on him by Carmen when she was still around. He likely kept it that way out of habit. It's a reflection of his heart. They weren't particularly fond of untidiness, but Carmen made a mess out of an organized room. And they grew used to such messiness that they gave up on cleaning the room. Their hearts, sadly, couldn't take those moments in, as that space changes according to his heart, siphoned up from his deepest unconsciousness. Many parts of the facility were extracted and created from their minds. It's how building such enormous structures underground in such a short period of time was possible. Yes, it would explain how construction was possible underground without specialized equipment, like the kind used to make tunnels for underground train networks, like the London Underground, for example. Possibly thanks to the miracle power of cogito, the medicine from the human subconscious. Oh, I did it again, didn't I? I did that cheesy advertisement voice, didn't I? Multiple extractions were needed until they finally solidified something that had no form. So much time had passed that it would have either resulted in a time machine type scenario, as in H.G. Wells, or humans becoming extinct. He finds the eternity that is their situation fascinating, and spoke of time track and how their technology combined with their energy technology could rewind time as many times as they needed. That place didn't leave anyone with their sanity intact. But the manager reached that point, even though he limped on all the way. Although he did have help from Angela, but it was an Herculean achievement that he went through that journey. His body and mind could rest, as he must be exhausted by that point. The path after that point would be extremely brutal. The other versions of this man would also be brutal. They would not let the manager pass as he would. If he's not ready yet. Well, if he's not ready, he can go back to day 1. He got to day 46 once. That's where they are. He can do so again, no matter how long it takes. They literally have all the time in the world. There's no need to be in a hurry. The situation will be very different if he moves forward from there. Harsh trials and unanswered, saturated questions. He can reverse time, but not a tale. And he's not wrong, because day 46 will have much to deal with. Remember the fixers in the Mercenaries lore video? Well, they'll be appearing, plus something else. And they will be quite different to the other ordeals, as they will appear throughout day 46 to, well, near the end. No other ordeals will appear. When day 46 happens proper, the manager will need to fulfill the energy quota and defeat the White Midnight. During a White Dawn ordeal, either a red, white, or black fixer will appear to at least try and stop the manager. During a White Noon, those two who didn't appear previously would appear at the same time. During a White Dusk, the 3 types of fixer mentioned earlier would appear along with a pale fixer. I don't need to go over what they do in great detail, as I've already done that. Let's just say that their damage is color-coded. So, like with like, bad move. It's when we get to the White Midnight That which needs to be defeated, that is different. It's the horror that caused the massacre that killed Daniel and Kali, and resulted in a more long drawn out and painful death for Gallion. And the agents fighting this, well, they're more fortunate, as they're only fighting one, not two. Yeah, it's that one. It is the White Midnight Ordeal. The blunt force instrument of the head. A being lacking in any subtlety and intrigue. It is the Claw. It takes the appearance of a tall man in a business suit, with a large iron claw-like gauntlet on each hand. It has 3 coloured syringes, orange at his elbow, blue at his shoulder, and green at his head. He wears a helmet that looks remarkably similar to the Naked Nest. Perhaps the Naked Nest infected a few people with its spawn, and the head captured it and found a way of utilizing it, using chemical, biological, and cybernetic augmentation to make it at least docile enough to be controlled, and then created as a brutal, unsubtle weapon against those who would get in their way. Well, it's certainly a possibility. For the first part of the fight, it will use its massive claw to hit nearby targets, with either a single or double attack, each dealing red damage. After a time, it will inject itself with the syringes that are on its body, triggering different abilities, depending on which is injected. So, a cross between Bane and Scarecrow. It's just missing a luchador mask. The orange injection gives it the strength to charge in a single direction, until it hits the end of the facility, dealing a large amount of red damage to anything in its path. The blue injection will result in it highlighting 6 random employees, either agents or clerks, marked with a blue circle around them. It will then teleport to them to perform a stab attack dealing black damage to the targets. This blue circle can be removed by working on any abnormality. The green injection will result in it holding its hand out as a green glowing aura is in its palm, which will eventually heal some HP. Yeah, that's the last thing you'd want, isn't it? After causing a large amount of damage. Although, thankfully, it's not unavoidable. Seriously, it isn't. As both the green and blue injections can be stopped if the manager has enough total damage inflicted on it via a large amount of agents within a short period of time. However, when the claw's HP runs below 25%, it will use all three at the same time. Yes, 6 random employees and/or clerks will be marked. Okay, clerks and agents, they're both employees. Well, you get the idea. They'll get marked by a blue circle, and the claw will dash towards each of them. Any on its way will take pale damage, as will the targets hit by it. And while this is going on, the claw will be immune to all damage dealt to it. Oh great, now it's the Juggernaut. Yes, it's similar to the blue injection, in a way that the blue circle can be removed by working on any abnormality. And even under normal circumstances, it's resistant to everything. So it doesn't matter what is sent, all that matters is that it's sent. Yeah, large amounts of damage until it's dead. And after this day, the douse will have passed, although the question of fatigue and waiting will be before the manager. Yes, it will be before the manager on day 47. On day 47, the image cracked, and when it reformed, the office started to resemble a painting by Salvador Dali. And that mature man, he was there again, noticing that the manager decided to move forward. His body and mind are weathered. Where does that confidence come from? One question the manager might have is, who is that old man that has a familiar voice and face? That man is a shattered mirror of him, one of the pieces of that mirror. Abel. Yeah, as in the one who was killed by Cain, his own brother. He's filled with rage and obstinacy, waiting to be miserably forgotten. He decided to proceed, but nothing changed. He had trouble sleeping, and rare moments when he could sleep were riddled with nightmares. They were the first to access the well of humanity, that which existed for a long time, but forgotten and denied. Now, only a few handful of people can feel it. There was one person, however, that could feel it. At least to some extent. Well, better than most others. And that person was Carmen. She was completely sure about its existence and tried to persuade them. If its existence was proven, that would mean that she would have access to the well. She believed that the cure to the world's disease was related to that well. Sounds simple, doesn't it? The research they conducted took from where Carmen left off. It was successful. They found a method to siphon that primordial sea, which had every possibility of humanity's past, present, and future. Better known as Cogito. If everyone had a bucket, they would draw their own water from their own well. He found it fascinating. They were secretly arrogant. They thought that they could rekindle the long-forgotten flame and water of life. However, The path they walked was not that much different from that of Prometheus, that titan that stole the fire of Olympus and gave it to humanity, and as punishment was tied to a rock and had his liver eaten by an eagle. And then, after he died, he was brought back to life, and the cycle started all over again. In the case of Cogito, what had they accomplished? More was lost than gained. The manager didn't see how Benjamin met his demise. One of the few that could tolerate his ill temper. Abel had a recording from a time when Benjamin spoke the final truth. Yeah, remember the one about the cycle of infinity and that he should walk away? Yeah, it's that one. The one that was interrupted by a jamming signal. And who jams that message? Well, it was the one who intercepted it in the first place. And that was, of course, Angela, who completed his sentence and then killed him, and made him into Hockma. Perhaps the manager didn't feel guilty because he gave him another life. Life? Who are they trying to fool? Or rather, who is he trying to fool? Anyway, the manager should find solace in his mind or he won't endure that place. The brain is one of the vital organs of the human body. Hundreds of billions of neural cells stretch like branches of trees and form a forest. As long as the original exists, it can be replaced. Those who perished were awoken in machine bodies. It was his place. But he doesn't do it alone. Abel has already seen the world ahead of him. Nothing changes. Benjamin, his friends, the employees, their sacrifices meant nothing. The manager saw how they've met their ends. Innocent, talented souls trapped in machines. Innocent. Can't say that about Michelle. Not so much, as her actions led to what killed Daniel, and Kali, and Garion. Although Garion had what was coming to her. Can't say the same for all the others that got killed that day. And Kali ultimately took her with her. Regardless, they were failed. And the world forgot them. Although based on the fixes being sent, not as much as he thought. Who will compensate for their sacrifice then? What they forgot. Then there was a flashback of Malkouf. She said that she wasn't perfect. She was ahead of herself and not realistic. The facility was a sad place, so she refused to think that she couldn't do something. But that obsession ate her away. What was important was to stand with her own legs, to know where she was and where to go. Then it naturally comes, the will inside her. It was then that the manager answered Abel with the following sentence. And that sentence was, "The will to stand up straight." Abel said that even if the manager did that, what was around him was nothing but despair. He might seem noble, but he's sailing through the Dead Sea inside of him. Emotional thoughts only depressed him. It didn't help anything. They needed to be more rational. This fake rationality crumbles him. All of them. And it was this point that the manager received a flashback of Yesod. He revealed that he said that they have walked too far to talk such melancholic stories. They thought that relying on emotions helped nothing, but accepting sadness with important, fake rationality only made their hearts rot. It was hard at first. The manager would feel like he would crumble, but it would get better. Yesod was sure of that. The manager then told Abel that he'd rely on distinctive reasoning. Abel then said that it was too late to settle down their hearts. The manager's mind was empty and lacked purpose. The people he lost whispered in his eyes whenever he closed them. He said that if the manager really thought it was going to get better, he couldn't say anything. Does the manager think he'll be any different? Then there was a flashback of Hod, who told the manager that he shouldn't look at the past in times like that. She knows that her sins could not be forgotten, no matter what she does. That's why she was so ahead of herself. She wouldn't be from that point onwards. She would become a better person if she continues. They should live with such hope in their minds. The manager then told Abel that there was the hope to be a better person. Abel asked, "What's good in all that?" He kept telling the manager that he had nothing left. No matter how controlled he was losing the meaning of life since Carmen left. Why was he so obsessed with life without meaning? Abel was continuing his life, waiting for death. Then there was a flashback to what Nejak said. He said that the reason to live that painful life, well, he doesn't know yet. A woke him up. Nejak sees it as his responsibility to take care of everything that comes next, choosing to be more courageous. It took him a lot of that to live on with his life, telling the manager to live his life for once. He did it. What makes the manager think he can't? Oh, the irony. Something profound coming from someone who became an apathetic junkie. And not without reason. considering how he became what he was. The manager then told Abel that, well, yeah, what has he come to? It comes down to this. He told Abel that he had courageous fortitude. Yeah, that's what he told Abel. And you're guessing, or rather asking, how does he react to this? Well, Abel then says that they've been thinking for a long time. None of the paths they thought to be the right answer was correct. How could he not let him pass when he answered like that? Being nameless is a blessing, as it means no stigma that constantly reminds you that you're on the wrong path. The door he'd face after leaving is named trial, also known as ordeal or agony. The manager seemed to possess the strength to overcome them, the strength to choose a different path, a different future, a different answer. Abel will witness his strength, and he hopes that he proves it to that unbelieving old man. Abel appears to be a representation of the man that A was, not long after the death of Carmen, but sometime before he worked on Angela, full of bitterness and without direction. Seeing as he and Carmen were close, and how deeply it hurt when he lost her. Yeah. The true effects wouldn't be revealed until sometime after that. Then a voice emerged, likely to be Carmen, asking why he can't hear her voice anymore, and to answer her, if the upper layer wasn't synchronized, Abel would say that those who do not cherish sacrifices don't deserve to move forward. He can't open the door for someone who is not ready. The manager must stop there and go back. It wouldn't be hard. His steps would be light as he leaves everything on him. They shall meet again when he's ready. He's not sure if that time would come or not. Then the manager backed away. Well, thankfully, that time did come. During the workday of day 47. It would be much the same as day 46 as far as the appearance of ordeals was concerned, except it involves the Isaiah Sephiroth meltdowns. The starting effect is Malkuth's effect. Works done by employees are randomly replaced by another type of work every other Griffith meltdown. On meltdown level 2, that's when Yesod's effect occurs. The UI will be pixelated and blurred, as if it's not as bad as the censored abnormality, but still pretty bad. Yeah. Upon meltdown level 3, can you guess what comes next? Yep. And this time there's no subtlety. This time, it's going all out. It's Hobbs effect, where every stat that the agents have in the facility will be reduced by 50. Yeah, that would make some abnormalities especially dangerous. Upon meltdown level 4, that's when Nezhak's effect will take place. When the manager orders a work, they will not be able to cancel them by clicking the containment units. And employees will cease to be healed from any sources except for the start of each Griffith meltdown. To finish this day, the manager must collect all the energy as per the quota and reach Griffith meltdown level 6. This is made more difficult as each effect is added to the previous one until all 4 is in effect at the same time. But the fatigue had passed, and the waiting was over. What was next would be the question of regrets and atonement. There was plenty of the former. As for the latter, that would depend on what the manager said and did next. And unfortunately, that will have to wait until part 2. Yes, the next iteration of A will be quite different to this one. Until next time. Hail the rabbit!